I don't think there's any question anymore that there's a shift going on in the real estate market, and it's been well underway. We have been talking about it all summer, and it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But what is the difference between what you see on business news networks and the national news? Well, let's maybe start with what is the same between what we're seeing nationally and what's happening in Steamboat, and that starts with sales. Routt County saw 44% fewer sales in October of 2022 than it did the same time last year. And sales volume is also down. The total volume was off for October 26% from the year before. Now, this should not be too much of a surprise when you look at where interest rates were last month at 6.9% and compare it to interest rates in October of 2021 at 3.0%. The buyer demand has just dropped off substantially. The buyers we see now are the ones that are buying no matter what. And you can see this in the month supply of homes, how long it would take to sell all the active listings on the market. That's up 56%, going from 1.8 months all the way up to 2.8 months. And homes are sitting on the market longer, well, a lot longer. 75% longer. That sounds all doom and gloom, but we were at an unsustainable 8 days on the market. It's now up to 30. And you can go back to February of 2020 and see that the days on market was all the way up to 70. Remember, 6 months for the month supply is the tipping point for the real estate market. Going back to that, any lower and it's a seller's market, and any higher, it's a buyer's market. When you see 2.8 months, well, you tell me what you see. But here's where we differ in the national picture: supply. Many of what used to be hot real estate markets are seeing their numbers skyrocket, and that's not happening here. New listings on October decreased 40% from 91 to 55. And recognize that is a year-to-year comparison. If we were like the larger markets, we would see that number typically increase. And when we look at month to month, well, summer is the selling season, and it is when we see the most listings enter the market. It then drops off considerably as we enter the winter months. This year's no different. The peak was lower, and we'll have to see if the valley is lower as well. Last year, we saw the valley go as low as 39. And with the low supply, we see prices continue to climb. $767,000, that is the median sales price for October. Last year was $595,000. That is an increase of 29%. But let's go back to the month-to-month numbers for a moment. The price is trending down and has been since May of this year, when the peak was $997,000. And sellers are very aware of this month-to-month change. And you can see that in the sales to list price change. The sales price compared to what it was listed for is 96.6%. And that sounds pretty high, though not as much as when you realize that there was no gap between sales and list prices last year. It was 100%. It's also 2 percentage points down from 2020, meaning sellers are coming off of their prices and coming off hard. The last time we saw it this low was May of 2020, and before that, February of 2018. I do like to take a look at price per square foot to see how well it matches up with sales price. And again here, the price increased from $513 a foot up 16% to $575. The trend line still has it high, moving higher from last year, but it has come off the peak in April. This tells me it has more to do with existing home sales rather than new construction. The last two indicators are some of the most important. First, price reductions. The last few months, I have been looking at relative price reductions because we saw more price reductions per active listing. But now the absolute price reductions have increased quite a bit as well. There are now 69 price reductions compared to 56 last year. And with the active listings being equal to last year at 184, the relative price reductions are higher as well. Second are pending listings. With 48% fewer listings under contract at 55, this tells me we can expect more of the same to continue through November. Now, to wrap up, does this all mean that the real estate market is in trouble in Routt County? Well, not really. It's just a little bit smaller. If you're a seller, you can expect your home to sell faster than it did pre-pandemic. You'll find a higher price than pre-pandemic and even mid-pandemic, just not as high as it was at the beginning of the summer. And you just don't have as many buyers competing for your home as before, which means be prepared to come off your price to keep the interest and be ready to negotiate when the contract comes into you. You can no longer get away with setting a deadline for offers and sitting back and watching them fly in. If you are a buyer, you now have more leverage, but don't expect sellers to give away the farm. Be reasonable and know you might get a higher quality house out of this. On one hand, there are fewer buyers to compete with. On the other hand, you still have higher mortgage rates than last year. But if you need to buy the house, buy the house. You'll have to eat the higher interest rates for now, and then you can refinance down the road. And if you were concerned about a possible recession making interest rates worse, according to Freddie Mac and Keeping Current Matters, interest rates have declined for the past 6 recessions. They dropped even more precipitously when rates had more to fall. Well, that wraps up the market update for the broader Routt County area for the real estate market for October of 2022. Stay tuned for price, type, and area updates very soon. Until then, feel free to reach out to me at 970-846-0797. Email me at johnjames@jamesteamsteamboat.com or leave a comment in the video, which you can also like, subscribe, or share. In this month of Thanksgiving, I appreciate you watching so much, and until next time, take care.